It began before dawn, a deep, distant rumble that grew into a roar. On November 10, 2025, the island of Luzon, Philippines woke to the wrath of Typhoon Feng Huang, a monstrous Category 4 storm tearing in from the Pacific, with winds surpassing 120 miles per hour. Within hours, coastal towns vanished beneath rising water, and cities plunged into darkness as power grids failed one after another. For millions of Filipinos, the storm was not just weather, it was a nightmare reborn. From Aurora to Cagayan, the air filled with the sound of corrugated metal ripping from rooftops and waves smashing through seawalls. Feng Huang's arrival wasn't a surprise. Forecasts had warned for days, but no warning could prepare a nation already scarred by past disasters. This was the Philippines' fiercest storm of the year, and as dawn broke, the world watched a country fight for survival once again.
Ayan, no? So, ibig mong sabihin, saan galing yung mga...
At 2:30 a.m. on November 10th, Typhoon Feng Huang roared ashore near Casiguran, Aurora Province, striking the eastern coast of Luzon with catastrophic force. Sustained winds reached 125 miles per hour, with gusts nearing 150, flattening coconut groves and snapping concrete poles like matchsticks. The storm surge, more than 10 feet high, swallowed entire fishing villages along the coast. Within minutes, communication lines collapsed. Baler, once a quiet surf town, was cut off from the mainland as torrents of rain turned roads into rivers of mud. To the north, in Isabela and Cagayan, roofs peeled away, homes crumbled, and transmission towers toppled into floodwaters. Residents huddled in total darkness, listening, as metal sheets clattered through the wind and the ground trembled under the force of the storm. Meteorologists described Feng Huang's eyewall as one of the most violent ever observed in this part of the Pacific. It shredded everything in its path before moving inland, unleashing over 20 inches of rain in less than 24 hours. Flash floods raced through valleys, swallowing cars and bridges, while mountain towns faced landslides that buried homes in seconds. By sunrise, Luzon's east coast was unrecognizable, entire communities erased overnight. And the terrifying truth set in this was no ordinary storm. It was a siege.
Oh my God!
When Typhoon Feng Huang slammed into Luzon, night turned to chaos. The wind screamed through every street, tearing off rooftops and hurling debris through the air like shrapnel. In Cabanatuan and Tuguegarao, people clung to door frames as walls shuddered under pressure. Rain hit sideways, a relentless, blinding curtain that made breathing feel impossible. By 3 a.m., floodwaters were rising fast. Streets vanished beneath waist-deep torrents, trapping families inside their homes. In Nueva Ecija, rescuers fought their way through water so strong it carried away vehicles. Power lines sparked blue in the darkness before falling into the flood, sending flashes of light across submerged neighborhoods. Hospitals lost power, running on emergency generators. In Quezon City, medical staff moved patients by flashlight as windows shattered under the pressure of the storm. Cell service was gone, leaving millions cut off from the outside world. For many, it was a night without end. A mother in Aurora described hearing her roof torn away while clutching her 2 children in the dark. The house was shaking, like it would break apart. We just prayed. Outside rescue teams couldn't move. The winds were too violent. The roads were gone. For the people of Luzon, survival meant waiting and hoping the storm would finally pass. As the eye of Typhoon Feng Wong passed over northern Luzon, a brief, eerie silence fell. For a few minutes the wind stopped, and survivors stepped outside to see a world ripped apart. Cars lay overturned walls, flattened power poles tangled in the streets. But before anyone could process the destruction, the second wall of the storm, even fiercer than the first, came crashing back. In Cagayan Valley, floodwaters swallowed entire neighborhoods. Families climbed to rooftops as houses disappeared beneath the surge. In Baler, rescue crews formed human chains to reach trapped residents, their flashlights flickering against sheets of rain. Soldiers used boats to pull the elderly and children from homes already collapsing in waist-deep water. Reports poured in of landslides in the Sierra Madre Mountains, where villages were buried under tons of mud and rock. In Isabela Province, highways were torn apart, isolating towns for miles. Survival became an hour-by-hour battle. Parents shielded children from flying debris, praying their walls would hold. In makeshift shelters, hundreds huddled together, drenched, exhausted, and terrified. As the wind screamed like a freight train outside, one survivor said, "It felt like the whole world was ending. For those who endured that night, the sound of Typhoon Feng Wong would never leave them." When daylight returned to Luzon, the scale of Typhoon Feng Wong's destruction came into full view. Streets where rivers of mud bridges had collapsed, and entire communities were unrecognizable. Yet amid the wreckage, stories of courage began to emerge. In Aurora Province, a team of volunteer firefighters waded chest-deep through floodwaters to rescue a group of trapped teachers and students from a collapsed school. In Nueva Ecija, a group of soldiers used ropes to pull a stranded family of 6 to safety from the roof of their submerged home. One officer, soaked and shivering, told local reporters, "We don't stop, not while people are still out there." In Cabanatuan, neighbors broke through walls to reach the elderly couple next door as their house began to flood. Volunteers carried food and blankets door to door, while others shared what little they had. Candles dry, clothes clean water. Hospitals overflowed with the injured. Nurses treated patients under candlelight as power grids failed. Despite exhaustion, they worked non-stop, patching wounds, calming children, comforting the lost. In shelters, survivors prayed together, finding strength in unity. The storm had stripped away everything except their humanity. Against nature's fury, what endured most was the will to protect, to endure, and to begin again.
This might be a big one. Yeah, here it is. That's a big one.
Yan na sudagat. Dali na sa motor. Yan na sudagat.
Scientists say Typhoon Feng Wong's power was no accident. It was the product of a perfect, terrifying equation. The storm fed off abnormally warm Pacific waters, with sea surface temperatures climbing above 86 degrees, providing endless energy for intensification. Within just 36 hours, Feng Wong exploded from a Category 2 storm into a Category 4 super typhoon, its winds tightening into a compact, devastating core. Meteorologists from the Philippine Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, PAGASA, noted that a deep pool of warm ocean water east of the Philippines acted like rocket fuel. Combined with low vertical wind shear and high atmospheric moisture, it allowed the typhoon to maintain its strength long after landfall, a rare and deadly trait. Satellite imagery revealed a perfectly symmetrical eye, surrounded by thunderstorms stretching 9 miles high into the atmosphere. The storm's eyewall rotation speed rivaled that of hurricanes seen in the Gulf of Mexico, with wind gusts peaking near 155 km/h. Experts warned that climate change is making such storms more common and more unpredictable. Each year, the line between strong and catastrophic gets thinner, said Dr. Ilan Navarro, a climate scientist in Manila. Feng Huang is not just a typhoon. It's a warning of what a warming planet can unleash. In the days after Typhoon Feng Huang's landfall, the Philippines stood in shock. Drone footage revealed vast stretches of Luzon underwater. Entire towns, erased fields turned into brown lakes, and power grids shattered. More than 3 million people were affected. Thousands of homes lay in ruins, and rescue teams still searched for the missing amid debris-strewn coastlines. In Cagayan and Isabela, farmers mourned their crops. Rice, corn, and sugarcane fields flattened just days before harvest. The loss rippled through local economies already strained by previous disasters. Fishermen along the eastern coast stared at what remained of their boats, many now splintered along mangrove shores. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. declared a national state of calamity, urging unity and pledging fast-tracked relief. But for many, recovery would take months, even years. The storm's aftermath exposed deep vulnerabilities, outdated infrastructure, inadequate flood systems, and the harsh truth of living on the front lines of a changing climate. International aid began to pour in from the United States, Japan, and regional partners, a testament to global solidarity. But scientists warned Typhoon Feng Huang was not an anomaly. It was a signal. This is our future if we don't adapt, said a Manila-based climatologist. The planet is speaking, and it's speaking in storms. As night fell over Luzon, the winds of Typhoon Feng Huang finally faded into a haunting calm. The sky cleared, revealing stars above the wreckage, a fragile reminder that even after the darkest storms, light returns. Across the Philippines, survivors held each other close, mourning what was lost and cherishing what remained. But Feng Huang's story doesn't end here. It's a chapter in a growing global narrative, one where oceans grow hotter, storms grow stronger, and the line between natural and man-made disaster blurs. Every flood, every fallen home, every life uprooted is a warning whispered through the wind. The climate crisis is no longer distant. It's here, from the quiet towns of Luzon to the storm-prone coasts of Florida and Texas. The message is universal: preparation, adaptation, and compassion are no longer choices. They are necessities. If this story moved, you help us share it. Like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth documentaries that tell the truth behind nature's most powerful moments and the resilience of those who face them. Together, we can transform awareness into action before the next storm arrives.